So this is about felting, a felting tutorial, because one of the things that came out of the journey stone ideas was this idea to create a 3D version of the journey stones, I suppose, and thinking about how we could do that in a textile way. So Andrew and I spoke about it kind of at the beginning of right at the beginning of the project, and these were the first kind of samples that I did of the felted stones, just thinking about what we could do with that. So the ones that are just at the top on the left hand side were the sort of first ones that I did, and this was using, I'm sure there's people on here that'll be familiar with all of this. We've got expert felters and people like that, so hopefully it's not too basic for everybody, but a lot of people won't know how to do wet felting, so I'll go through it a little bit later on. But for this, what I used was wet felting around stones, and also around polyfibre filling, which makes it a little bit softer. So at the top, the image at the top, the big black stone has got a stone inside it, and the one that's in front of it, which is white with a kind of black line going through it and looks a bit more mottled, that one's got the softer filling inside it. So I kind of came up with these samples, and then the screen underneath, the shot underneath, is where Andrew's added some of his digital drawings on top to kind of show what it could look like if we had some patterns or visual images of the tapestry that we could stitch on. And then when I tried stitching on, it's quite tricky to stitch into these. So the on the right hand side, it's not impossible, but it is quite tricky. So I think we have to, that's one of the things, is not being too ambitious with what you're trying to put on to the stones, because it is quite tricky, because if you've got a stone in there, you can imagine you've got to just be very, very delicate with how you do it so you don't hurt your fingers. But yeah, that was just kind of how the idea formed. And it was one of these things that grew arms and legs a little bit when we shared these images with the team at High Life Highland. They were really enthusiastic about it, and as the kind of space grew at Inverness Castle for the tapestry, there became a space where they in a kind of tower room, and what they're proposing for in there is to build a cairn out of felted stones, because they like this idea so much. So that's great. So what we're going to try to do with this method is to build a felted stone cairn, and so obviously that just depends on how many felted stones we can get together, and how many people want to do that. So anybody on the project can make a felted stone if they want to, and what I'll do just now is go through how to actually do it. So that's just obviously you'll all be familiar with this image now, but that's just I love this design of Andrew's, just this cairn. So it's obviously just thinking about this kind of idea of all of these stones being created and then used to build a cairn. And I was like, Andrew tends to say, you might chip in, Andrew, but Andrew has often said that, there's not one person that's an architect of a cairn. It's built by everybody, and I really like that concept. So it's really nice to think about making these felted stones and then building them into a cairn that everybody has been involved in, or people who want to be involved in are involved in it. So that's just an image. I was just playing around building my own little cairn today, and thinking about what it might look like, and every time I took a photo it was slightly different, but you get the idea of kind of where it could go. So on to the how to do it. It's this is wet felting. You can do, there's different techniques for felting, but this is the way that I've done it is wet felting. And there are other ways to do it if you're using the kind of hollow fibre filling. You know, you could needle felt those, but I wouldn't recommend doing any kind of needle felting with a stone. Just want to make sure that everyone knows that. So if you're using an actual stone, then please use a wet felting technique. So on the left hand side, you can see there, that's the material that you use to create felt. It's called felt roving. Sometimes it's called felt tops. And it's really, you might have seen this when we've been out and about at our workshops, because a lot of the time I'd bring it with us, and it's just the unspun wool, and it's really fluffy and it's really nice to work with, really soft. And yeah, lots of people like to kind of touch it and feel it. So the whole process of doing this is very sensory, and it's quite quick. It can be quite a quick process. It's really fun, it's really enjoyable, it can be quite you don't have to get too messy, but it is very wet, and it's you know, there's lots of water and soap, but it's really nice. And if you haven't done it before, I would really encourage you to give it a go and give it a try, because it's just it's quite a magical process with felting. And it's one of those things, a bit like stitching and other craft type of things. It's one of those addictive things that you do it once and then you think, oh, this is great, I just want to do it again. So that's the felt roving on the left hand side. In the middle, just the things that you need to get started is just a few different types of fleeces. I've got some different colours there. A stone, not too big. You can do, if you do try to do big ones, it can get really tricky. And then I've got some net there, that's what's on the roll, and that's what I use to kind of hold everything together when which you'll see a little bit later on. Some people don't use that, other people use different things. That's just what I use to do it. And then you need, very glamorously on the end, the washing up bowl and the fairy liquid. I just use fairy liquid. You can use soap, but plenty of fairy liquids is fine with me. For my hands, that's okay, but you know, you can just use liquid soap, that's fine. Okay, so the roving is you just need to tease it apart gently to get, it's kind of, when you try and tease it apart, it comes apart in like layers, and you don't want to, I don't use scissors when I cut it. You don't want to use scissors, you just want to tease it apart gently with your hands. If you use scissors, it gives it a kind of harsh edge that you can't get rid of actually when you felt it. So if you just break it apart, tease it apart with your hands, and then just lay a kind of, quite a little bit will go quite a long way, so you don't need loads and loads and loads. I did this stone here with just one kind of layer from the bigger part, and then you're just wrapping the stone up like a little parcel, and you just wrap it all up, and make sure I like to go one way and the other as well, so bring it down over the top and then go from side to side as well, and then just wrap it into a little parcel so it looks like how it is at the end. Then you can add a little bit of colour if you want to. We kind of, I suppose that for the cairn, we probably want a good mix of neutral stone colours and then some brighter colours as well. Just thinking about the colours that are in the tapestry, I think that kind of, if it reflects the colour palette of the tapestry, then that's good. So just a little bit of colour, and it gives if you kind of put it on quite thinly, it'll give it a little bit of a marble effect. And then that's the net that I was talking about earlier on in the middle photo. I wrap it up in that just because I find when I do the next step, it helps to keep everything together. Not everyone does that, but it's just a thing that I do, but that's why I've got it in the picture. So just wrap it up in the net nice and like a little parcel. And then this is the fun bit. You just I use warm water, not too hot to begin with, because for your hands as well, you don't want to scorch your hands. So just warm water, quite a lot of soap in there, submerge the little parcel into the water, squeeze it underneath the water to get rid of the air bubbles, and then bring it out of the water. And then I tend to squeeze all the water away, and then you just squeeze it and roll it in your hands. And you just keep going and just repeat that process in your hands for a minute or two, and then do it again, put it back into the water and soap, squeeze it, and then bring it out again, and then repeat the rolling and squeezing process. It's just you just keep going with that. So you do that for I did that for about 10 minutes today on the one that I did, and that's generally what I would do for the first little bit, and then I would have a little look inside and see what it looks like, if it looks like the fibres are all kind of knitted together or not. If they are, then you can take it out and do the next step, which we'll get onto in a minute. If they're not knitted together, if it still looks quite fluffy and loose, then you can just wrap it back up in the net and just repeat the steps in the last slide. But it is really cool. You open the little parcel and it's like, oh, this is all changed, and it's created something a bit different. And yeah, it's this felted stone which just looks really nice. What I did after I'd taken it out of the basin and it was looking a little bit more knitted together, I just roll it on a towel back and forth. So I mean, and as you can see, I mean, anyone can do this. It's really, really, really simple, but really, really effective. You know, you can have kids can do this. You know, I've done it with nursery age children before, you know, so it's really great for any age, because it's just a really accessible activity, and it makes something that looks really nice. So you just roll it backwards and forwards on the towel until it looks a little bit like this on the right hand side, and it's starting to look a little bit more felted together. So that was just the end result today, the front and back on the left hand side, and then I just started adding some stitches, some little French knots at the top and the bottom, and then this was just putting them together and thinking, oh, right, these will look really quite nice. Some of the ones that you can see there, at the one at the front on the left hand side, which looks absolutely gorgeous, is the students from Drummond School have been doing a little bit of weaving with some of the speciality yarns, and they have been making some felted stones also, but that looks really quite nice over the top of the felted stone. So, you know, we can definitely incorporate a few different methods as well as this. So this is just a starting point for making these felted stones that we'll then build into a cairn. We can use lots of different, bring in different methods, you know, to put onto the stones, like the weaving that you can see here and stitching. And I'm sure people will have lots of other ideas because everyone's full of ideas, which is fantastic. So I'm sure we can make this really quite exciting between the skills that everybody. What's the colour I use, please? Watercolour paint. No, I've not used any. I didn't use any paint at all. The roving that you get, you can get it in different colours, Sue. So it just comes in the different colours that it's already dyed in those. I didn't put any paint or anything into it. It was just that was the colour of the roving. So yeah, so that is, oh, got another wee message. That's grand. So yeah, that's really it. I think that we had thought as well about how we could kind of connect this with the narrative of the tapestry as well. And I know, Andrew, we've spoken about maybe having a phrase or a saying that is either that's stitched on to the stones somehow.
Yeah, I think the idea is because you can't do much stitching on it. It's really you can't really do anything complicated. But we could do lettering onto the
Yeah,
onto the
yeah,
stitching. There's some pattern like what you've got with the really nice yellow pattern that you're beginning to put there, and then we just add a phrase. Probably once we get all the journey stones, then we can decide a bit of a poem or a song or a phrase in English, or maybe a couple in different languages, whatever. And then we just put that round. I think that's the basic idea, but it's just a really sensory pattern cairn would be really gorgeous. I mean, like the blue one you've done, it's absolutely beautiful. You know, if it was all like that, and the other one from Drummond School, I mean, if you have things like that, it just could be a really gorgeous sort of cairn with beautiful colours in it, and then we just add something really simple just to finish it off.
yeah.
So keep it really simple and just go for a really gorgeous sort of, loads of stones that we just are just absolutely beautiful to look, just textural beauty,
Yeah, I think so. I think that I was hoping that was kind of where we would go with it, and that it could just be this collective creation, and that so many of the stitches are bringing so much in terms of their creative skills to the tapestry. Other things like knitting and weaving and the lace making and things like that. So I think that there's room for bringing those techniques into applying those onto the stones as well.
I love your photograph of your little cairn with about some stones and some of the felted stones as well. I mean, I just think that other people can make their own little cairns as well. You know what I mean? It's just a sort of really great sort of simple. Yeah. It's not a simple thing. I mean, you're making it more simple than it really is. I mean, I think there is a lot of skill in what you've done there, Kirstie, but it's like but it's very accessible, and people can make their own cairns, from that. You could photograph them and put them on the Facebook page and say, "Oh, look at that! This is what we've got," and it could be really nice. It's got real potential, this idea.
Yeah, and I think if people can have, that you can write. You can do lettering. I mean, I probably need to just spend a little bit more time trying to do the lettering, but you can do lettering. I think somebody has asked in the chat about whether would a curved needle be good. I think you could definitely try with a curved needle and see whether that was made it easier to do lettering, because I think lettering would be something that would be would really kind of bring it all together if we can get a phrase or a poem, like Andrew was saying, lyrics of a song or something like that. I think that could be really nice, because obviously when you get all these cairns, when you go up, when you're out and about doing walking and things in the Highlands, well, everywhere in Scotland, and you get these cairns and they've got these little messages and things written on them. So I think that would be really nice as well to bring to it. Also,
it's a reference to the geology of the Highlands, and so like in Alistair's narrative has got a lot of that in it, about the geology they make, so that references to that in a poem or a song or whatever would be really great as well. It's just
yeah. So what I'll do as well is the resources. We've had it's a bit like with the tapestry and the cording and the different people coming forward with materials, but these materials I will send out to the hubs. But also there are a lot of stitchers who are felters who have already started creating some felted stones, who've got their own materials to use, and that's fine for you to use. If you have felt roving already, that's fine for you to use that. I know that one of the groups in particular really they're a felt making group, and they have got a lot of experience in felt making, and they've got a lot of resources as well. So I know that they are happy to help other people learn how to do felt making, and share resources and things like that with people. So yeah, it's just if you would like to do it, it's just an invitation to create a felted stone if you would like to do that. So I think that is, as I said, it was just really a very quick one tonight, just go through how to do it, and to talk a little bit about Oh, when do the stones need to be done by? I think that it'll just end up being the same deadline. So as everything else. So we need to have your tapestry panels back at the end of May. And I think that's probably a good idea to have stones done by then, I would say. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, I think I think we've got to stick to this deadline. But I mean, again, don't feel any under pressure. Just try and enjoy it if you can, you know.
Yeah, and it's a really nice thing to do. It honestly, it doesn't take very long at all. Once you've got, it's just really about having a little bit of space and time, because it is, you know, messy with the water and things like that. So just a bit more about having the space and time to do it, and collecting the stone if you want to do it around a stone. You can also, should have said when I was going through that, you about the hollow fibre filling, if you don't want to do it around a stone. So the one that's in the middle image at the bottom, that one's done around hollow fibre filling, and that it's really quite nice because it just goes to the shape that your hand kind of makes a stone shape, so that it makes them quite individual. So if you don't want to hold the stone, or if it's too heavy, or if you prefer to make it lighter, then you can use the hollow fibre filling to do that.
There's lots of questions in the chat.
There are some questions in the chat. Yeah, let me just check. So Charlie's saying, you said that stitchers could take part. I think this would be really good for a local older person's group. Would it be okay for them to join in? And what about the local primary school? Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great way to involve them in the project. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, no, I think that's what it's made for. I mean, it's made for trying to involve people in, and then, you know, there's a bit of education behind there, particularly with the sort of geology or the history of the area, you know. So it's just another resource for the project, you know. That's all it is. I think as well, it's good to me.
Yeah, it's quite nice as well for people to go a wee walk, you know, and choose a nice stone and all of the rest of it. You know, it's a whole experience rather than just, you know, just doing one thing. You've also asked about what colours will be available. Will I do a sheet like I'm doing with specialty yarns? I think that probably I think I'll probably just send it out to the hubs, and what will be at the hubs will be at the hubs, because otherwise it'll become a little bit unmanageable. So I think it'll just get all sent out to the hubs, and it might be that the hubs might create a sheet with speciality yarns. Diane's asking, are the journey stones going on these two? What do you mean, Diane? Can you explain?
You know the journey stones that we're stitching?
Yeah.
Are they going, because they were going to be part of the cairns, some of them?
So this is different. So this is different. What we'll make with the stitched journey stones is we'll create a panel, like extra tapestry panels that have got the stitched journey stones on them, and that will be in a cairn design. Some of them will be in a cairn design, if that makes sense. And these, although I did use the word for journey stones, so it does get confusing with all these stones and journey stones, doesn't it? So yeah, this will be a 3D cairn, actually built into a 3D cairn. And at the moment, there is a room there's this tower room at Inverness Castle where we're proposing that cairn would be. But obviously, as you can see, it doesn't take very long to make a little cairn, and you know, there might be other cairn, you know, we are going to have tapestry panels displayed elsewhere in the community trail. So, you know, if this is something that takes off and if people enjoy doing it and we've got lots of stones, then we'll just have to see where it goes. Hopefully that answers your question. Sue's asked, okay, will you be sending some hollow fibre filling out to the hubs too? Yes, I will do, because I know that's it's a good option for people to have, to be able to do it in a different way. And like I said, sometimes the stones can be quite heavy, so for various different reasons, especially if you're working with younger children or older people as well, you know, that might be that the hollow fibre filling might actually be a little bit easier to handle for those people. But it's also just, it's a nice way to do it as well, because it creates a slightly different shape. Is there a minimum and maximum size you want for the stones? I think the thing is with the maximum size, like, you're scaring me a little bit, Sue. I'm like, is it going to be a massive big, you know, huge big stone? I think, you know, maybe like the size that your hands can easily make would be the biggest. I think don't do so. I mean, if you see a massive stone and you want to do it and you think you can, then send me a picture. First, I'm just imagining this. I'm just not quite sure how big you mean, but yeah, I would say something that you can comfortably fit in your hand. I did try to do one that was a bit bigger than the ones that are in this picture. I suppose it's hard for you to actually see a size reference because I haven't put a size reference in, have I? I could just measure the little stone just now. The blue one is about 10 centimeters long. So that kind of gives you an idea. And the big one, that's the grey one, that's got the wavy lines, is about 14 centimeters in length. So that kind of shit, and they were quite easy to do holding them in your hands. But the one that I did that was a bit bigger than that, I found quite tricky, quite difficult. But I just maybe needed to keep going with it, and maybe just use a slightly different, adapt the method a little bit, maybe for bigger ones.
I mean, it's a bit like the cord idea. It's something that's sort of grown as the project's grown and become more important. And I think that this is going the same sort of way. And it has to be said, both the cord idea making and the felt stones are Kirstie's idea. So I thought she's been very humble about it, but it was, he did bring these ideas, but both of them are really sort of community based and more are very accessible for people to get involved. They don't necessarily have to get stitching to get involved, which I think is great.
Yeah, exactly. I think
and then as the project's progressed, I'm just repeating what you're saying, but I think it's important to say it, is that the High Life Highlands have really liked these ideas. And then if this room became available to actually do a felt stone cairn for the exhibition in Inverness Castle. I mean, there's all sorts of things could happen with it. You know, there could be a ceremony where we ask each group to do a felt stone, and then they sort of they all bring it together and travel to Inverness Castle, and then we put it all together like in a ceremony. You know, it could be very symbolic of the whole thing. You know, that'd be quite nice. You could have a nice community project where you know the stones from all over the Highlands come together to create this felt stone. But we're not at that stage as yet. But there's lots you can do with it. It's got real potential. You know, because it's such a nice visual thing, and they're really beautiful as well.
And it is, and it's a bit like Charlie had mentioned on the chat when she'd mentioned about schools and like older people, and definitely I think that is you know, bringing more people into the project, and just it's really quick, it's really nice. You just need to be organised about the things, having the resources there, but it's a really nice thing to do, and it is accessible, like Andrew was saying. It's really
but if you have to get a forklift truck to lift a stone, that's not accessible. You know what I mean? That's going to be really expensive then. There'll be 56 forklift trucks coming from all parts of the Highlands to create a cairn. You know, that'd be quite expensive then.
I know, that's it exactly. I think Sue, I think it needs to be something that you can carry. I think that's you've answered your own question there. But yeah, that's great. Okay, well, I'll come out of this screen just now. Hopefully you all enjoyed that. It's you know, it's something fun. It's like a really nice creative and fun part of the project that hopefully can bring you know, bring lots of people into it. So you know, if you're interested in doing it, I'd encourage you to have a go. I can see you've got your hand up, Anne.
Oh, one reflection that we had after the Hallkirk meeting when you first showed us these was to make sure that the pattern, that if you stitch anything, put it on the side of the stone, because if you put it on the top of the stone, it'll be covered by the one above.
It might be, but I think you could have stuff on the top and the side, because, you know, like when you put something on top, I suppose it just depends what you put there. You'll still see parts of it peeking out. So right. I suppose if you want a message, or like Andrew was saying, if we have words, you might want words on the side so that you can see them. Right. But you could still have things, because when you stack them up, you know, you'll see some of what's on top.
Right.
It won't all be covered, and we'll try and do it. We would try and build it. Well, hopefully the idea is that we could build it together, like Andrew was saying, but, you know, we would do it so that you can see the bits that people, you know, have stitched.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you want to do it on the side, that's fine, but you don't have to.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
I am taking photos of your slides because my group want a handout about how to do this. Yeah. And you were, with the greatest respect, rattling through quite fast. Is it possible to see the second process slide so I can take a picture of it?
Yeah, that's fine. The other thing to say is I'll share this. I'll save the PowerPoint as a PDF. And send it through to everyone, so I can go back and you can take a picture. That's absolutely fine, but I will send it through to you as an email, because the way I've done it is so that I can do it as a presentation to share it with you, but also it's like a guide so that you can follow it. So I'll send it through to you by email, and it'll also go on the YouTube channel, so you can watch it and listen to it if you want. Don't get sick of hearing me and seeing me, or you can also read it, you know, in the email. But I'll go back just now.
Thank you. It was the second one. So you had the first slide had sort of hands in.
That's okay. I'll just go through
slide number 5, I think.
Okay. All right. I'll go to the one before so you can check that.
Okay, great.
Right, come on. Right, have you got that one, Anne?
I have, but I've got it again just to be on the safe side.
Okay, and then this was the next one?
Ah, Brill, that's the one.
Is it that one?
I think so. Thank you. That's great. Can you do the next one just to be on the safe side?
Yeah, I can, yeah. There you go.
Oh, yeah, no, I've got that one. Brilliant.
Have you got that one?
That's
Are you
grand.
sure you've got them all? Is that okay?
Yes. Thank you. That's grand. Thank you very much.
No, you're welcome. That's absolutely fine. Right. Is there any Andrew, do you have to put a stone in the centre? No, you can put other things. So if you're using sorry.
Because some of the original ones, there was nothing in it. It was just felt. It was quite light. There was no weight to it. So if you're creating a cairn, and the ones at the top of the cairn when you actually build the cairn, the ones that are lighter might be better at the top, where you have heavier things at the bottom, just so it's weighed down. So I don't think you need to put anything. Sometimes you can just do felt. That was my point. Right?
So yeah, some of them, I didn't say that actually as I was going through. So I did do some that were just felt. There was one that was a bit more like a kind of ball shape, and you can just put the fibres in your hand. And I just did it with a few bits that I had left over, and I just did the same process, but just with the felt. If you go round and round with felt roving in your hand and put it in the water that's warm, and with the soap, go round and round, it will just create a round shape in your hand, and you can make it more into a stone shape. So yeah, you can do it like that, with just the felting fibres as well. And you can do it around the hollow fibre filling, and you can do it around stones. And I'm sure that somebody will find out another way to do it as well, and we'll have there'll be something else. Somebody said to me the other day, you could put something inside it that made a sound, and I was like, that's an interesting idea. So I'm sure, yeah, there'll be lots of ideas.
I mean, when we come to construct these cairns, if we get to that stage where you've got lots of felt stones, I mean, you'd create a sort of membrane in the middle, would be like chicken wire or something, or a structure. Then you'd attach the stones all the way in, so it gives the illusion of a journey stone. So you could really position them really well. But then when you put them all together, it looks like a cairn, but it would actually be hollow, so you wouldn't be, I don't think you'd construct it like how you get cairns in the Highlands, so.
Yeah, I think so,
there's different ways of constructing it. So it would be, you could use chicken wire in the centre, then you could attach them, or they can sit on top of each other. There's different ways of doing it. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that we haven't figured out which way we would do it, or which is the best way to do it yet. We'll wait and see kind of where we get to with the idea, and then we can try that. Anne, have you got your hand up?
I've got my occupational therapist head on now. The idea of having ones that you can shake and they make a noise, I know that doesn't fit with the idea of it being a static cairn, like Andrew says, but having a few kicking about on the floor would be great if you've got people with learning disabilities, or people with dementia, or people with some form of disability, to actually get their hands on one.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I also think it could be quite nice if we've got people making felted stones from those communities as well. So if as part of the making, if you're making it actually makes a sound, or that if anybody is working with older people, or anybody who wants to do it, but it would be something that would be quite nice as part of the making process of it as well, not just when it's finished.
It's easy enough to make a hollow water bottle, put some peas, dried rice, dried peas in it, and then wrap it around after, and then it shakes, it makes a noise.
Yeah, I was thinking of like it might not be the most healthy, but like a Kinder egg, but you can get the plastic eggs, and you could put something inside it like a bell, or
exactly. That actually, I know that goes against the idea of static, but it does make it more accessible to people with disabilities.
You see, one of the things about how the project's grown is that one of the rooms that shall be attached to the tapestry is an activity room, long term. So they will be looking for activities to do there. So it might eventually be that they do felting stones workshops where you can put sounds in the middle of it. So the part of the project is long term, that there will be activity right beside the tapestry. So it is open to that, and I think it's also very sensory. The other thing that maybe Kirstie, when we went to Drummond School, and when one of the students, she couldn't speak, but she could rub the felt against her cheek and her arm, and a big smile broke out.
Exactly.
And and that was one of the things I think that convinced us this is a good thing to do, because it was the sensory side of it that really got this young woman excited about it, and remember the big smile that broke out in her face. Then she gave it to her friend, and her friend did the same as well, and she was just rubbing it against her cheek, really, but it was just it was just the sensory side of it. So I think that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's so soft, the roving, it's so soft, and it feels quite different to wool, I suppose, you know, like if you're feeling like a ball of wool, or even if you felt cotton wool, it feels quite different. And I think she was just really responding to what that felt like, and it was a really nice feeling. But it was quite a moving experience, wasn't it, Andrew? And yeah, we just thought it's really nice because it just makes it something that is accessible and for everyone. So I can see Jane's popped a question there. What about polystyrene shapes? Yeah, I'm sure you could probably put polystyrene shapes in there as well. I haven't tried that, but that's another good idea. So yeah, these are all great ideas. So have we got any other questions at all, or is everybody wanting to have a go at doing it? Would everyone give it a go and chat? Yeah. It's really fun, honestly. It's great. Once you do it, you're just like, oh, want to make lots of these. It's a really nice thing to do. A soap dish. Yeah, you could use a soap dish, or you could use it for a soap dish as well. You can make it with you can felt round soap. Quite a lot of people do that. You maybe see that at kind of craft markets and things like that. It's quite a nice activity as well. For anybody who's working with other groups as well, if you're working with schools, you can do that too, or brownies or guides, or get quite a few people doing that too. Great. Have we got any more? Is that us all? Oh, are you waving your hand, Anne, or are you saying no?
Sorry, I was just saying goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, goodbye, everyone. Thanks so much for coming tonight. We'll see some of you tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.